Kane, it's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. And of course, the final word. We have some of the late night Leeds crew joining us with Lockie and Andrea subbing in for Rocco, who's away working, and Luke, who's gone to see his mate. I'm starting to get the opinion that he's dodging me, but he'll be back, no doubt, for the start of the season, which is now in single figures. We're just 9 days away from the start of the season. Listen, before we touch on to last night's game, Nottingham Forest 0, Leeds United 2. We scored goals. We looked good. Before we do that, there's been some breaking news over the last hour, really. First and foremost, for those that are worrying, I've just sent this picture on Twitter. So Mr. Carl Darlow is at Ellen Road. He's in the building.
There's an altar on his left. By that car.
Yeah, I thought that as well, bro. I was like, what's Victor still doing there?
Look,
why is he
lingering?
there?
Yeah, lingering.
Maybe he's there to exercise the latest relegation release clause, which we found out, of course, is Tyler Adams now has a relegation release clause. So we're going to start with them things first of all. Before we do, though, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, hit the notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to each one of these fantastic content creators and follow Andrea Russo on Twitter for just excellent musings on Twitter. Across all genres of football and sport, the guy is just, he's like the Rain Man. It's all right, bro. It's all right. My pleasure. Before, as well, I just want to mention, for those that haven't already, you have the opportunity to win a signed Willie Nonto shirt. Okay, this one is mine. I made sure I got one for myself. If he leaves, I might raffle that one off. But you can win this one. I've not taken it out of the packaging. All you have to do is follow myself, Football Prizes, and also subscribe on YouTube. That's going to be announced on Sunday, okay? We've had like 200 and odd entries or something like that. So if you want to get involved, it's not going to cost you to do so. Please do check that. And it comes with a certificate of authentication. It's a struggle for me to say that. And for some reason, I got the pen in this one. They left the pen in. So I was thinking maybe like we could, if he does go, we could somehow like create our own Willie Nonto with the DNA off this pen. If anyone's seen Big Bang Theory,
You're saying he's touched that biro. That's a pen.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I don't know if anyone watches Big Bang Theory, but there's an episode where Penny gets Sheldon with Leonard Nimoy's DNA on, and he says, "I can make my own spot." Yeah, so that's basically what we're doing. So Willie Nonto's probably going to leave anyway. But right, that's enough from me. Let's get stuck into it. First and foremost, Kate. Before we touch on the Darlow and Adams thing, I want to know if you're worried that you might have to wear that Patrick Bamford shirt, because we did make a bet that if he's our top scorer, he will wear it, and he scored yesterday. So how was that news for you?
I know. Well, do you know what? I've been heckled about this all day. I was glad. I was glad he scored. Of course I was. I've got no problem. My deal was if he scores 20 plus goals this season, I would buy a shirt with his name on, and I would wear it in public.
In public.
I'm feeling quietly confident that I won't have to do that. But it was good for him to score. You know, good on the guy. Bit of confidence for him, and who, you know, I wouldn't begrudge him scoring ever. You know, please just knock yourself out. Score more. Keep scoring, please. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, what can I say? I'm sure everybody else agrees. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Let's just look at who he scored against. One goal, you know, and all the rest of it.
Yeah. No, I hear it.
Number 9. We still need an amazing number 9. So that's my opinion.
We do. What about what's your thoughts on Carl Darlow being pictured at Ellen Road, and of course the now announcement of Tyler Adams being available for a release clause believed to be around about 20 million?
Cardalo, I did an expose on him the other day. I'm sure Max has got a scouting report out on the guy. Look, at the end of the day, he's a good buy. What is it, 400 grand, 450,000? You know, I think his VFM for that. His stats, as far as I could see, look pretty favourable in terms of other people like Freddie Woodman and people like that. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. Tyler Adams, I expected him to go, quite frankly. Just it's another, you know, release clause, isn't it, that we could have done without? But there you go.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That is fair, Kate. We've had a super chat come in, so before I go to Andrea, it says, let's get this party started. Leeds United family positivity is paramount. All will prevail. Well, hopefully there'll be plenty of positives. I know I'm feeling a lot better than I did the last episode, that's for sure. So, Andrea, we've took a wild guess that maybe Adams would have one of these sort of release clauses. Are you surprised it's now been announced, especially on the day that Fabrizio Romano was speaking about it on his Here We Go podcast, and everyone starts quote tweeting my tweet that I put out going, oh, he's guessing, this, and then all of a sudden there's an article in The Athletic. So, you know, I think he knew, didn't he? And I think, yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Will he be a loss? I'm not really that asked.
Well, we said it on the show previously, you know, that there were rumors about a release clause in the region of 30 millions. Now it turns out that in the article by Tom Bogle and Phil says in the region of what we paid to Leipzig, you know, to RB Leipzig, so 20 millions plus add-ons. So I think it's around 35 millions in the end, you know. So yeah, I'm not surprised, you know, because if we look at our last season, every contract that was signed basically has either a release clause or a loan clause. So I think we are not surprised. You know, it's a surprise when there's not a release clause or a loan clause in one of these contracts. You know, also in the renewals, you know, of Struijk and Llorente. You know, there was also news about Struijk today, but turns out that they made an inquiry. Club Brugge, but they didn't go further than that. But yeah, you know what, Joe, I'm with you on that, because I think, of course, for his passion and his presence on the pitch, in terms of the defensive end especially, is a good player, a leader on the pitch, a leader of man, of course. But like we said, me and you in the past, he doesn't have a lot of vision, to be fair. And of course, I'll be really happy if he stays, but the only way he stays for me is that he's injured. You know, he's injured since March, and he'll be injured till the first international break in September. So I don't see right now a club with a player out for, what is it now, 5 months, almost 5 months, you know, trying to spend 30 millions on even if it is Adams, you know. But I don't see right now a club trying to sign him for 30 millions, to be fair, because it's a gamble, it's a risk, you know. He's been out for a very long time, and it'll be out till September, so it'll be a spending on the value of the player, you know. But you have to see his level, his fitness, and yeah, of course, he'll be an asset if he stays. But like I said, maybe for the system, Farke likes to deep playmakers, you know. He likes more like a player like with the same characteristics as Ampad, you know, but more box to box, and Adams is more like a defensive player in that kind of position, you know. So yeah, I almost agree with you in the end with on Adams. Yeah, that's it.
I do disagree on the point that I think a club will take a gamble on him, because the Premier League starts a week after us. He's already on the grass. If it is believed to be around about 20 million, and someone had said in the comments, I've not seen that. I know you keep mentioning 30 million as well, according to the article. And again, we don't know. They're guessing as well, I guess. But it does say Adams arrived at Leeds from Leipzig for a fee of around 20 million up front. The relegation release clause is believed to be in that region. Yeah, 25 million. Yeah, I suppose maybe you're right, but I mean, are we going to get the add-ons? I don't know. But anyway, 30 million, 20 million, whichever. Lockie, do you see a club? Let's say, I think the big one in this for me, and someone replied to me before that tweet saying Brighton, and I think that makes sense because all roads are leading to Caicedo moving to Chelsea. I think they're getting close to the 100 million that Brighton want. If there's a release clause for a player of Adams' quality, 20 to 30 million, it's a no-brainer, surely.
I think, what I like about Tyler is, and what clubs I think will see in Tyler Adams is what he's good at. He is very good at, one of the best.
Yes.
But that is quite limited. However, in a team like Brighton, which, the way they play, they rely on balance. Tyler Adams will bring balance. Star Wars quote there. Star Wars quote. You like that one, Joe? He'll bring balance, right? So he kind of balances that defensive third to the midfield. He's good at that. He can sweep everything up. And I think it's a lot of money, though, for someone with limited capabilities in terms of attacking. I don't think he's terrible at passing. I think short passing is fine. He can give the ball quickly. But obviously, cutting edge passes, it's not his thing. Driving, he doesn't do it as much as he should. It is a lot of money. I do think teams pay as much as they need, depending on how much they need the player. If they really need that player and Brighton really want that player, they will pay 25, 30 million, I believe. If they're getting 90 million for Caicedo or whatever that is. You know what I mean? If he fits their system perfectly and he's starting, they'll pay that. That's Premier League. It's a no-brainer. But will they? I don't know. How fit is he? Will he be the same player? That's always a thing with injuries, especially operations as well. Yeah, Tyler's an interesting one because I do really like Tyler Adams. I do, genuinely. I think his leadership skills are really good. I like him as a person. He's always been respectful, even after relegation. But if a Premier League team like Brighton come in and they pay the money...
In Europe as well this season, Lockie. You know what I mean?
You can regurgitate that money as well. Into
100%.
Ampadu was 7 million. Like, come on, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Get recruitment right with that money and you're laughing, I think.
Yeah, and I think as well, like Fuentes is reported to be close to signing for Rangers, which then frees up Kamara, who Leeds United have been longly linked with as well. So we could see a swift turnaround if Tyler Roberts does exit the football
Tyler Roberts
club.
went a few weeks ago.
Tyler Adams, sorry, I do apologise. Yeah, definitely not the same player. Tyler Roberts. Yeah, go on, Joe. Give me your thoughts.
I did that when we signed him. My video was Leeds signed Tyler Roberts again. Yeah, I agree with what everybody has said. I think Tyler Adams is a fantastic reader of a game. I think he cuts out things. His tackling is probably one of the best around.
Mm-hmm.
I guess probably where it stops, though. I think if you're looking at this system that Farke is putting together, does he fit it particularly well? Maybe if he goes with a double pivot that both defenders sit, then you could do him and Ampadu together. We've talked about this before. I don't know. I'm not super sold on Glenn Kamara. I'm being very honest. I know he's a decent footballer, but Rangers fans will tell you he's a decent footballer when he fancies it. And when he doesn't fancy it, he's a passenger. So that's the bit with them. Also, the Scottish League, you've seen the Japanese players go into that league and look like world stars. It's not a great league. So he's fine. I'm quite happy what we've actually got there at the moment. Actually, looking at how we played yesterday, I'm pretty okay with the centre midfield right now. But yeah, if he goes, he goes. I think the add-ons are what's gonna probably bring it up to the £30 million mark. So dominoes look like they're starting to fall.
Yeah. Max, do you know when before we came live, I was thinking about it, and the mad thing is, I know this release clause, it might be one of them loan ones. We don't actually know. It sounds a little bit like guesswork by Tom Bogart, but obviously there's definitely one in there. If he was to leave on loan, I think Tyler Adams is probably the only one out of the group that have left on loan that I would take back in the Prem. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if he goes on loan, I think he's definitely an option back in the Premier League again, if we can keep hold of him, because I think there's a ceiling there that is higher than what he's currently at, and eventually you might move him on for a lot more money than what we have done, or what was available to us this season. The other thing as well, and a reason not to sell him, is because profit and sustainability. If we sell him for £20 million, say, with add-ons, that doesn't mean that we've got £20 million that we can spend scot-free. Because we bought him for £20 million, it essentially just makes us break even. and it doesn't actually add any money to what we can spend with EFL profit and sustainability rules and stuff. So realistically, the players that you're wanting to sell are Melier, because we brought him in for 5 million. If we can sell him for 15 to 20, that gives you a big budget. And then Nonto as well, brought him in for 5 million. If you can sell him for 20, 25 million or even more, that's the sort of stuff that gives you leeway. And I really like Tyler Adams, and I think he can do a good job. So if it is a loan, I think he's done right by us so far in his time at Leeds United, and I probably would take him back. It's difficult because Verber's kind of the same position, but everybody's sort of called him a bit of a backstabber, because I think Tyler Adams has said similar things in way of committing to the club.
Good point. Yeah.
And if you, I don't know, I didn't get too angry about Verber because I kind of thought if I was Austrian, I don't know any connection to Leeds before playing for them, and then Borussia Mönchengladbach came in for me, you probably want to do that instead of be on playing in the Championship, wouldn't you? And I guess he committed and then probably thought that nothing like that was going to happen. It would kind of be the same situation for Tyler Adams. But like Jer says, the way that Farke plays, it's not necessarily that we would have two DMs in there. It would cause a headache for Farke trying to fit Adams and Ampadu in. And I think they may have had an inkling that Adams was going to leave by bringing in Ampadu, because I don't think that usually Farke won't have two players that similar who both need to start. He'll have somebody who, like a Glenn Kamara, is more of a number 8, could get forward, can put himself about and tackle as well. But so I think maybe they may have already thought we're not going to keep hold of Tyler Adams here.
I think if they knew there was a release clause, 100%, which the club will have. You know what I mean?
Also,
the club know.
I think the Ampadu stuff will massively soften it for us fans.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? You know, like if imagine Ampadu's not here and we saw Tyler Adams, we're worrying, we're panicking. But with Ampadu, it kind of softens that blow, doesn't it?
There's also an interesting point on that as well. A mate of mine said this recently about Premier League players. It's smart to bring in the player to replace the player before you sell him, because then you're not a captive audience. It's not a case of you then going to, say, Chelsea and saying, well, we need a defensive midfielder, we want to buy Ampadu. They clearly then know you've got a gap in your squad and you need that player. And all of a sudden the price is whatever they want to charge you the price, because they know you need that player. When you're in a position where you've already got them in, you can bring in a player and then go, we've got defensive midfielders here, we're looking for another one. You can kind of, if we get him, we get him. If we don't, we don't. It's not the end of the world. And you can kind of get it for a better deal.
Same with Darlow.
Exactly the same. You bring in the goalkeeper before you sell the goalkeeper, then you're not a captive audience again. So again, and also you're not relying on, using Brighton as the example with Caicedo. They're looking at going, well, we want Caicedo as part of the squad for the year, but Chelsea are probably going to buy him. Chelsea haven't got him in their preseason camp. They want him in there now. They don't get a player that they want. So it ends up in this where it gets drawn out and protracted and doesn't happen the way it should. So the other way Leeds have done it is probably a very smart way to do it. And I'm not at all surprised that that's the way that Hammond is going about, just looking at how he's done things so far.
It's like 100%. Going to a car dealership and letting slip that you have to come away with a new car today because your old one's broken. And they know then that they've got you, and they know that they can drive the price up a little bit.
Exactly,
Yeah, it's sensible to do things like this, isn't it? And to have your replacement already.
It's very unusual, though. And it's clever that they did it, because a lot of clubs don't do it. So it's
but I think that's quite circumstantial, because we're in the Championship and we're able to buy the standard of players that we're going to buy. Say we stayed in the Premier League, the standard of players that we would buy to replace somebody like Tyler Adams. Yes, Ampadu is going to turn out to be really good, I think, but it's kind of like that's going to be a lot more money. And sometimes in the Premier League, you can't afford to spend 30 million on a player before you sell the player who's worth that, if you get what I mean. But because we're in the Championship, we can afford to spend only 7 million replacing Tyler Adams, who we bought for 20 million. So I think it is a bit circumstantial, but we're doing well to take advantage of a bad situation, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they started well in that category, because especially in the situation, like you said, Max, we are in, because they inherited all these contracts basically from a previous director of football, and bringing in already Ampadu like an insurance. If Adams leave, you have a similar type of player, but with more vision. And like you said, and like I said, with a more box to box next to him, I think it allowed Farke to start the season with a player in a crucial position for his style of play, even with Adams out, and also the case of Darlow, they're bringing in Darlow in case of Melia leaving. But just to finish off the things of the clauses, I don't get why when we acquired Rodrigo, it was a record signing at the time, and the clause that the Qatari club paid was just 3 million. We spent 20 million on Adams, who was a little bit stocked at RB Leipzig. He was a good player, but didn't really break through into that team. And I remember there were a lot of people saying that they prefer Mo Camara now playing at Monaco, but at the time he was at RB Salzburg, ahead of Adams. You spent 20 million on Adams. And of course, you believe in him. He was meant to be the replacement of Phillips. But you place a release clause in his contract, which is almost the same amount of what you spent. I don't get it, to be fair, because if you are bringing in a player to replace one of your assets, because Phillips, Rad said it in the documentary, was your main asset along with Rafinha, why putting in a release clause on almost the same amount of what you just spent?
I have a theory on that, Andrea.
I don't get it, Jer. I don't get it.
I have a theory on it, and I think it's a case of when we first went into the Premier League, trying to get Rodrigo was trying to sell a Premier League club to a Spanish international, and I think they may have struggled to get him. And I think it was a case of, we are so confident that we won't get relegated, we'll let you go for 3 million if we do. Yeah, and that was the hook. He goes, fine, okay, grand, yeah, I'll get a move, no problem for 3 million, fine, okay. And I think it was the same with Adams. It was a case of, if it doesn't work out, we'll let you go for the exact same fee we brought you in.
It's a sweetener. It's a sweetener, isn't it?
It's a bad sweetener. And but again, it goes back to showing how bad Orta was at negotiating contracts.
Yeah, and now I think we're seeing the difference, also in how they operate, and they target specific positions one after one, small pieces coming together, because of course the next one will be the striker and probably the number 10 in that order, the DM, the goalkeeper, and the two other crucial positions. I don't know honestly if they bring in another left back. I was reasoning on it today, and also there were other people talking about it on Twitter. Well, there's Byron played well yesterday. We will talk about the game later, but with Firpo injured, probably I don't know. Maybe they'll keep the two of them, but I still think we need another one to be fair. But I think they have clear ideas, and like the Americans said, we need to trust the process. I think because they're moving swiftly, slowly, probably because everything was slowed down, of course, by the whole procedure and the takeover length. But I'm optimistic, honestly, about how they operate. They look very professional, and they have clear ideas, especially bringing in professionals like Hammond and Steinson to me.
Yeah, I think what's the American story will be over, won't it? When Adams leaves, that'll be it. So as a content creator that took quite a lot of battering, I'll be glad to see the back of the USA men's national team stand accounts, if I'm being totally honest. Love to the rest, but them sort of accounts, I'll be glad to see the back here. I think they'll be glad to see the back of us. I can only speak for myself as well, so yeah.
Isn't that the thing this week that's popped up an awful lot? And TalkSport did it, and I got called a xenophobe on my channel by a guy who decided to refer to all Leeds fans as hating Americans. And I said, that's like me saying all Americans have a gun problem. They don't all have a problem. Some of them do. Some Leeds fans don't like American fans.
95%.
Not all of them. Yeah.
We have the difference too. The fact that fans are entitled to criticize and give their opinion and voice their opinion. I think there's a lot of accounts that take just fair criticism and praise too, because there's criticism and praise like insults. They're not insults. You praise players when they play good and they do good things, so you can criticize them. It's just football opinions. It's normal.
The amount of hassle I get for criticising Patrick.
Yeah.
I've always said this: criticism is based on form, as well as praise is based on form. It's not personal. It's never personal.
Yeah,
It's like your
exactly.
job. It's like a performance review in your job. You go out in,
Yeah.
if you're not doing a good job, your boss will say, "I think you're a great bloke, but you need to get better at this because it's not working right now." And that's just the way it is. I mean, football is a game of opinions. If you tell people they can't criticize players because you might hurt somebody's feelings, then the opinion goes out of the game completely. And that's what makes football so interesting: is everybody's opinion. The thing that drives me nuts is this supporting a player stuff. You support a club. You don't support a player. If you move around with a player, that's not a fan to me.
I think I said during the World Cup when I was talking about this that, like, it's like me taking an interest and supporting Harry Kane in every game that he plays because he plays for England and he scores goals for us nationally, and then going and watching John Stones play and taking an interest in him, and then getting defensive if somebody says something bad about John Stones. Like it's such a weird thought process to just support one player or just support a group of players that play at all different clubs around the world. But it's something that I've not really seen that much until we signed American players, and didn't really know that it was such a thing. I get it because there's not that many American players in Europe. Most of them are in the MLS. So yeah, you'd take a casual interest, I think. But there's lengths that they go to defend. And it's only certain people as well. I've got to say, I've had quite a few people join my channel and the Leeds community who've been absolutely great. And they're so good to have them on board. And they say, well, it's like Michael that you had on your podcast, Joe, from the American in Leeds podcast.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
he said
he's Canadian.
Well, yes, Canadian, but he was completely happy to criticize some of the players that, like Brendan Aronson, he's not a fan.
Really? You had to go at me for criticizing.
Yeah, it's like me. I said about after the Monaco game that Gnonto didn't have a good attitude in that game, and I'm Italian like him, so it's not a problem.
It's not like I'm an Ireland fan. Do I support every Irish player, every club they're at? No. In fact, I don't watch most of them playing most of the time because they annoy me. Like, they're not good players, so I don't care about them.
You support Grealish and Rice, don't you?
There's a lot of poor US players, and I said the response I gave to the guy on my channel was, no one is having a pop at a player just because of their nationality. We have a problem with Aronson because he goes down too easily. He looks for free kicks instead of getting on with it. He's too light. We have a problem with Weston McKennie because he didn't care. He didn't try hard enough. He didn't do enough. We loved Tyler Adams because he did. We loved Eddie Lewis. We liked Robbie Rogers when he was here, although he had injuries problems.
I love Mike Grella.
Mike Grella was a little cult hero at a point. So there's a history of American players at Leeds that have been well supported. It's not true to say it, and it's the same both ways. There's people at the moment in the chat having a pop at Gabe, and they shouldn't be because just because of where you're from doesn't mean you know more about football. I know lots of English people and Irish people who should know an awful lot about football or soccer, and I know American people who know a hell of a lot more than them. So it's your nationality doesn't give you a right to know anything about anything. You got to figure it out and learn.
No, definitely not. And like the chat needs to chill, man. It's all love on the Just Joe football show. I took the conversation down that way, just having a little bit of fun. Let's have a little bit of fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's what I was saying. Let's keep it light, man. Let's keep it light. Yeah. You know what I mean? Let's keep it light. SmackDown tonight. SummerSlam coming up as well. Can't wait for that. Right. Okay. So that's Tyler Adams. He's going. That then's going to free up cash. Along with Melier, we're going to see a lot more players coming in. I think, is going to be in outgoings. I think we all expected loads of incomings, but I think they're being very smart. If Melier leaves, going to get cash. Tyler Adams leaves, going to get cash. That then enables you to maybe go and get Pirot, go get your number 10, and go get your right-sided centre-back. And then we're looking at the squad going, we're going to be all right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's good. It's good. Right. Okay. Let's talk about last night's game then. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing the watch along of it because it was pleasant on the eye again. Leeds United had possession of the football. We were better than Nottingham Forest. We played some decent patterns of play. Dan James turns out can cross a ball. I was actually really surprised at how well he crossed the ball. Poveda had a good cameo. I'd sang Sam Byram tonight. yeah, there was a lot to like. We'll get on Patrick Bamford and him shushing fans and what people's opinions are on that, and we'll talk about what Cooper had to say at the back end of last season. But let's just go around and get initial thoughts on the game and pick out any bits that you really enjoyed and stuff maybe, need looking at from a squad perspective. Lockie, I'll come to you first of all, Mama.
Well, I enjoyed most of it, to be honest with you. I think I said this earlier. What I was expecting was an all right performance. A bit, we can do this. But generally speaking, I think it was the first half, especially before we made a lot of changes. We were still good when we made changes, but before that, I think we looked quite complete in terms of what we set out to do and what we achieved. Obviously, the final third, just getting that goal was a little bit of a struggle, but from the goalkeeper outwards, every single player knew where they needed to be. They knew the triggers to do runs, individuals as well. You're looking at, Ampadu, the chat knows about him, but he's a joke, isn't he? Literally levels. And I said, he is the player for me who is showing everyone the levels that we need to be at. He's come in and he said, these are levels you're going to play at. And you can see that by the way he speaks to people. He's always talking. He's always asking for the ball. That'll massively help the young players like Archie Gray and Darko JB to be braver. And then you've got, the midfield in there, and you've got the front three who, for all the trying, there's no real product, but the movement of the front three and the rotations of the front three impressed me a lot. Sinisterra is ridiculous. If you keep Sinisterra as the best player in the championship for me, but do you do that? I don't know. But like you said, what you said about Dan James, he crossed, but he was consistent as well. I don't genuinely count. I think one cross that was a bit over the top. I think all of the rest was like spot on. The one he did low to Bamford, and he did another one, didn't he? That was dying for a striker to get on the end. It lofted crosses.
The one from Byram too.
Yeah, the one from Byram. The lofted crosses, free kicks. They were good, I just think as a team, we look very well coached. We look like we know what we want to do. With more additions in, for me, the 10, which we'll talk about. And a bit more depth all around and potentially left back, even though I thought Sam Byram played very well. I think we look good. Like I said, I've been watching as much as I can of other teams in Championship live from their preseason, and I genuinely, they don't look as good as we did yesterday.
Are we going to smoke it? Is that what you're telling me, Lockie? Say it with your chest, son. Come on.
We're going to batter that league, mate. I'm telling you, we're going to batter it.
Man.
HMS.
Pistol league.
We just look better. We look more well coached than obviously I've been watching a bit of Leicester when they've been on YouTube. I've been watching Stoke. But there was the one, I think I watched a Hull game the other day. They're not us. We just look really good. And the Ampadu signing for me is the start of something special there, because the way he generals a pitch is just phenomenal. I know it's only 2 games, but if you can do that when you come in after a week, imagine what you can do in 2 months. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, very happy with it. Yeah, man. The synergy that will be created by the team as well, in terms of knowing when you're going to run, where you're going to be. Yeah, it's going to be sweet. Kate, you were nodding along all the way through that. It's very exciting times. It's good to see that Leeds United might have an identity again going into next season, because that's what I was doing something with Joe earlier on. Big shout out to Joe's podcast, by the way. But he said, like Liam Cooper had said in an interview, that they forgot how to play, and it just shows the sharp change from the American car salesman to what we have now in. And I'll always say that I just don't rate Jesse Marsh one iota. I think he's the worst coach since sliced bread, but we move. It's a stark contrast to what we've seen pre-season last to this, right?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody on that pitch yesterday knew exactly what was required of them. And you could see basically, I mean, the communication as well between the players. I mean, there was a couple of times I saw Nonto pass back to Melier, and it was like, you go, and if it doesn't work out, then you pass it back and you regroup and you go again. And I really, really liked that. And just it was exciting to watch, because they were physical. There seemed to be a lot of belief in the back line, in the defence, and again, final third, no composure and lack of quality, really. But everything up to
I
them.
wonder who you're talking about, Kate.
Well, do you know what I mean? There was a lot of crosses going into the box and nobody on the end of it. Make of that what you will. But yeah, I mean, everything else for me, I could see it. Yeah, I can see what's going on. I can see a style of play developing and an exciting style of play as well. So, and the fitness as well. You can see the fitness improving game, can't you?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. I really, really enjoyed it. It was just so frustrating when it was getting into the final third. And actually, Andrea mentioned something yesterday that I thought was really interesting. And it was like, we create so many chances and don't score, and then we actually score on the back of a Forest mistake, which I thought was
Football.
Yeah,
it was true, wasn't it? Yeah.
Definitely. Just want to, and I think this is actually, Gabe, I'm going to save that super chat because we're going through the positives, and we will bring that round. And Toby, I know you've put in a super chat as well, and we'll get to that. Just want to wait for the opportune moment. But Kate mentioned fitness, and I said jokingly the other day that Luke Ayling looked like he'd been on heroin. He's lost that much weight. Like if you have a look at him here though, now, allegedly. They all genuinely look so super fit again.
I mean, his eyes look like he's on something on that picture.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I reckon he was jacked up.
Allegedly.
Yeah, but go on, Joe. Sorry. I guess it's my show. I can lower the tone, can't I? Yeah,
do what you want, mate. It's your program.
Yeah. Me'll get cancelled.
I think it's great that you've hired Lockie as your legal counsel.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's your copywriter. He's from my neck of the woods. He's got my back. He's got my back.
What was the question?
Fitness, drugs.
Great. It's great. It's great to see it. It's the foundation of a successful team is fitness. If you're fitter than your team, there's an old football cliche of hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. If you can outrun, outbattle, and outfight your team, chances are you have a good chance of getting something from a game. If you add a bit of quality in there in terms of players, you're laughing. You got a good manager with a good tactical approach on top of that. It all bodes very, very well. It is very early doors, and I keep saying this. I know that we lose a game in preseason. We say, let's not lose the run of ourselves. We win a game in preseason. Let's not lose the run of ourselves either. But in saying that, there were some very encouraging signs last night. There is some stuff you can read into, and there's other bits that you shouldn't read into. I thought just how we played in general, the fitness is a massive part of it. We can't play the way he wants to play and play like that and move the ball as much as we did if we're not fit enough to do it. And it's a huge part of it. It is the structure of the whole thing is built around that. Without that, the whole thing falls apart, So, but there was just a huge amount of positives. I love this narrow fullbacks where they underlap and not overlap. So Stan Byram as a left back, you would say, well, he's right-footed. Actually, he passed an awful lot of balls with his left foot. He's as comfortable on his left as he is on his right. But in the system, when he is underlapping, say that's James, he's underlapping him here, the pass outwards is with his right foot, not his left foot. So it actually suits a right footer more. It's like an inverted winger, but an inverted fullbacks. So they're going inside to come out onto their stronger feet rather than outside to come in. Sorry, Max?
It's a bit Pep of a few years ago when he had Kyle Walker underlapping.
Cancelo as well.
Yeah, but it works really well. It suits the system. It creates an awful lot of space, and then you've got the pivot in the middle. And we were talking about this earlier on, but I feel I'm happy and I feel sad for Jamie Shackleton because with this system, when the fullback goes, one of the two pivots tucks into the fullback position to cover that gap to make sure we still have a back four, which I love. Jamie Shackleton can play in both those positions quite well. I thought he did really well when he played in the game. The issue for Jamie Shackleton is an issue, but it's also not an issue. He's a good 6.5 out of 10 player. He doesn't do anything wrong. He doesn't give the ball away. He doesn't pull out of tackles. He works hard. There's not an awful lot when you watch Jamie Shackleton that you can say, well, he's done badly today, or it's just how much of an impact has he had. He does it tidies up very well. And there was a lot of that as well. Sinistera has mastered the art of kicking a ball along the grass without lifting it off the ground. And, he clipped the post. He does that an awful lot. He scored against Everton.
Very Rafinha when he shoots from distance, I think.
And a lot of players can't do that. A lot of players can't control the ball. Poveda did it for his goal as well, which is really nice. But there was a huge amount. The only thing I'd say is, to balance it, as a defensive unit, as an entire team defending from the front, I thought we were very, very good. However, when we get past beyond and it comes to the back four facing runners, we still look a little ragged at times. We still look a bit panicky. And that might just take time to calm down, but that's the only issue I have. You're still seeing Ampadu making clearances in the goal mouth. That's where you want your centre-backs doing that. So there's still an issue there for me in terms of defence. But as a defensive group, I thought we were very, very good. And again, I agree. I think if Sam Byron can prove his fitness, great. That's fantastic. And then just finally, on a side note, just to touch on the Tyler Adams thing, he has to pass a medical before he goes anywhere. And that's going to be a problem. That could be tricky for him. And then finally, just to throw in, I'm all over the place there, what Kate said about final third quality, I know exactly what she's talking about. I thought we had a huge amount of quality in the final third, but we had nothing in the goal. And that was the part. It was these great crosses going in. You're like, there was no end product, nobody getting on the end of them. You're screaming out for a poacher. And that's actually, we talked earlier about it. I would have liked to have seen Joffrey start in the 9 because I actually think that plays to Joffrey's strengths. I think that's where he comes alive, is in the box, and putting those low balls in there might be perfect for him. But, we talked that to death about Joffrey. But yeah, there are my thoughts on it. I thought hugely encouraging against not a weak Nottingham Forest side, and I thought we did okay. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, we're just missing that killer, aren't we? And hopefully, with movements now going by the end of August, we will have that killer.
No, we can't do another season, Joe, where we're talking about creating 15, 16, 17 chances per game to get a goal. We got away with it.
We can't do another season of Bamford, is what you're saying. And that's the facts of it.
Yeah,
it is.
No, we can, Joe, because everyone's saying we can. We must.
No. Even I'm a Bamford apologist, and I'm saying no.
In the chat, apparently, Bamford is like, our star.
No, not this time. Not this time.
Because of the drag back in a preseason friendly.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not the type of number 9 who can play in this system.
I'd love him to score 20 goals.
But
for God's sake, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Someone's just said in the chat, actually, you look Amish, Max, and I can't get it out of my head now. I genuinely can't get it out of my head. Yeah, you have. But let's go to my.
If you need cheese, you know where to go.
20 wives behind that door.
Not quite.
Let's go to Max. Max, what positives did you see from a tactical perspective, Mama?
I love Dan James. I think he's going to be such an asset for us this season. And I always go on about it. I'm going to pull out the bag my catchphrase, the corridor of uncertainty. He puts it in there. He's consistently put good balls into the box between the goalkeeper and the defenders. Absolute dream for a striker. And yet nobody's there. We talked about last season how we had nobody with a striker's instinct. And we still haven't got that. We need to sign somebody who goes in at the front post, at the back post, makes runs and puts the ball in the back of the net. You need to be expecting it. There was one where, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Ampadu that put the ball in the box. And the commentators were saying, well, look, Bamford just wasn't ready for it.
Oh, Dan James.
You have to be ready for it.
Another Dan James one. And it was like, Bamford wasn't expecting the ball that early. You should always be expecting the ball if there's a winger out wide. That's what happens in football. The winger gets out wide and he puts it in the box. You should always be expecting it. So we need somebody who can put the ball in the back of the net, because everything else was quite cohesive and quite it was quite nice to watch. We seemed to know what we were doing. We seemed to know where we should be tactically. I think I noticed as well, I can't remember who picked it out, that what I tagged you in, Joe. We were talking last week about how Hjelde, or earlier in the week against Monaco, how Hjelde didn't get as high up. And it looks like Leeds will, when in possession, almost go to a 2-3-5, where Cooper and Cresswell, or whoever it is at the back, the two centre-backs, will be basically on their own at the back as a little, almost a pivot of their own to receive the ball, put it out the other side. Then you've got the left back, there's two central midfielders as almost like a midfield 3. And the rest of the attackers are all across the front line playing off the last man, waiting for balls to go through. And I think it's a very attacking way to play. I don't think we'll play that against everybody, but to go and do that against Forest, who obviously are a Premier League side, granted they almost are like good top championship quality, really, given that they only just stayed up. But we showed ambition to go, right, let's see what happens when we do this against a team who are probably quite comparative to some of the top opposition we'll get in the championship. So we'll go out there and we'll attack them and see if we can do it against somebody who is probably on a similar level to Leicester and Southampton. And we were able to do that, and we were able to dominate the game for large parts. So I think that's really promising, that like Bielsa, he went to everybody and said, I'm going to play the same way and we're still going to beat you. And I think it's good that Farke's saying, look, this is what we can do against sides comparable to what we'll be playing at the top of the championship. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, him playing on the front foot and being attacking possession football, which like Joe was saying about that interview that he saw where they said about forgetting how to pass the ball and stuff like that. You're starting to see this all come together now and patterns of play emerging. So I think it's really promising.
And on possession as well, I was just going to say, that's what Farke loves. Like you said, Max, he loves it. He wants the ball as much as possible. And we kept it a lot yesterday. And what I liked about it, though, is we could keep it. We could start again. But I think we've always said on Joe's show, which you'll say, in the click of a finger, we can literally, the width we create and the depth we create in a second is really impressive. And that's down to the speed and the thought of the front three as well. So we have both. We can play pedant, we can play it slow, but in a second, we can go straight to quick attacking, which is
100%. Yeah, and I agree with everything. It's exciting, man. It's exciting. Andrea, round off just on the game for us, and then we're gonna flip it and have a look at some questionable points. But loads of positives from you, I guess, in there as well.
Yeah, lots of positives. Of course, I'll try to remain balanced because, of course, I'm happy about the result, but I'm even more happy about the performance because, like he said, I think the players are now starting to understand better where they need to be. And all the off-the-ball movement in certain situations too, like for example, when Shackleton gets back to Alp, when Ayling and on his side, hires his position, goes higher on the pitch, and Goy did that too. So first of all, the difference that two attacking fullbacks make for me, because Ayling and Byram, of course, were really high and in terms of positioning, and having two. Because the last time we had Yelde, and Yelde is more defensive-minded compared to Ayling on the other side, and I think the difference was blatant, And again, I have to say, Ampado was like commanding vocal at the back. It's like in one of my notes, because I take notes during the game, when I see something that I really like. It was like a quarterback, about American football. He was commanding, leading at the back, also dictating the tempo from the back. And I really like his communication, especially with the two centre-backs. I really like Cresswell. He was our best centre-back yesterday, I think. And I think he paired really well with Cooper. They were quick on the ball, quick to dispose of it. Good on the tackling too. And I think they kept their shape really well, both of them, both Cresswell and Cooper. And going forward, I talked about Ampadu, but I have to say they didn't have much ball possession, both Shackleton and Gray, but they really helped off the ball. And that's the important thing in the system. There's a lot of players and a lot of off the ball movement that it's really, there's small details, and in getting the system work, and Shackleton and Gray occupying some spaces when Ayling was out on the pitch, I think it really made the difference, especially in the second half when Gray come on and Shackleton was playing as a right back. We were more defensive minded in the second half because we had Yalda and Shackleton. But I have to say about Gray too, I think he's a very intelligent footballer for his age too, looking at his age too. And I think he can be tried too in the future. He can become really versatile and can play as a right back too, for me, because he's strong, he's physical, and when he played alongside JB especially, they were really, really strong. They were like a wall in the middle, and Forest, when they were playing, Forest the ball usually went to the wings, because they were blocking the verticality of Forest. I didn't like how Forest played, to be fair. They looked tired to me. But the first thing that I was going to say actually, but I forgot, and I said it yesterday actually, is that I really like the attitude of the whole team, because they felt like it was a league game for me, and that's what the mindset and the mentality will really make the difference, and you can see that in the interview of Cooper and in how Farke speaks and how he handles himself, is what he says about the team too, about Gellar too. I don't think he did that bad in the first half. I think he did well. It was quite decent, especially in an unfamiliar role, because the number 10 deep assist position, gets back to get the ball and restart the action, helping the DM. In the second half, of course, his performance fell off a bit, But I think he was all right. He was okay. He wasn't that bad, to be fair. Also Bamford too. Bamford, in terms of movements, he didn't drift it wide. I think he stayed more central in a certain period, in a certain amount of, especially the first half, in a certain amount of time. And I think he moved really well. But of course, the final product isn't still there, because apart from that gift from Waller, he didn't get shooting opportunities. But yeah, this compared to what he used to do with the previous managers, drifting wide, occupying wider space, I think him staying more central really helped his game. In that term. Yeah, the wingers were good. I think James, I was surprised too, to be fair, and I think he still needs to have a better decision making in certain times. But when he has to do the decisive passes, one-time passes like crosses and of course short passes to the middle, I think is very good. So yeah, the all personal notes, even Poveda for me, just Rutter, it still looks a bit lost, in terms of tactical positioning. So we need to find his position ASAP. And to finish off what I'm saying, I think it's good for the club that they have scheduled a friendly with Arts, because they have started preseason before us, and we'll see the level of fitness after 3 days, of the players, and especially the BI opportunity for the subs that started that came on in the second half. So yeah, overall I'm happy, and of course try to stay in balance. But I think I'm looking forward to the Arts game, because I want to see how what we saw yesterday is going to develop in the Arts game, with the substitute becoming starters.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, because we are going to play Saturday, Tuesday, so it will be interesting to see on Sunday what that looks like. Thanks, Andrea, for a full and frank assessment. Let's jump into some super chats as well, and because we're getting close to an hour, what I'm going to do, some of the contentious points, I'm just going to ask you quick fire thoughts on Poveda long term, Cooper's comments, Bamford, etc. Yeah. Toby Ward says, "Hey Joe, or hey guys, sorry, great show. Keep up the work. What do you guys think about what Cooper has recently said?" Cooper apparently, well, not apparently, I assume he did. Why would he lie? At the end of the Spurs game, after we were thumped 4-1, of which he was a part of, by the way, he did turn around to the dressing room and say to them, "If you don't want to be here, then F off." For a pasturing merchant like myself, I loved it. I can't lie. Some people, cynics, will say, well, he's only saying that for certain to try gain favour and stuff. I don't know. But Cooper going into next season, I guess, Kate, good to hear him say this. Does he start the season for you as left centre-back?
When I first heard this, I actually thought, yeah, do you know what? Good on you, respect. But then I actually thought to myself, why wasn't he saying that earlier in the season? Maybe sort of like a few months before he actually said it. And I don't know. For me, no. I mean, yes, it was admirable. Yes, he's a great servant of the club. Yes, he's a good leader and all the rest of it. But no, for me, I think we need somebody else in there. I just do. I think it was too little, too late. When I look on the pitch, as people have mentioned tonight, Ampadu, Charlie Cresswell was shouting instructions and stuff like that and geeing them up last night. And I just think, he's a nice guy. He's a good player. But I think we can do better. And for me, no, I think we need a new left centre.
Would anyone disagree with Kate and think he should be starting in the Championship?
I think it depends on performances. Is it a long-term thing? Obviously not. Can we get another centre-back in who's at that level, like Ampadu type player? Yeah, of course. But if he's performing better than the others in training, he'll get picked because he has that leadership. He has that in there. Yeah. I'm not sitting here saying I want him. I would prefer us to.
Would you prefer Strauch, or you want a new signing?
New signing.
New signing.
Really,
Yeah, I agree.
same.
I agree.
Me too.
Because
I think
I like the depth. I like the options we've got.
there's a couple of factors that it depends on, though. I think because I don't think you can start Strauch and Cresswell because they're too inexperienced to play together. I think you need an experienced one and somebody who needs bringing up to their level. So if you sign somebody like Nat Phillips at right centre back, I think you play Strauch. If we don't get a right centre back in by the start of the season, then I think you play Cooper and maybe Cresswell at right centre back and have that leadership and then a bit of a youngster who needs to be brought up to that level as well. I don't think we can really afford to play with both youngsters. So I think it depends on incomings and outgoings.
yeah.
There are games this year I think you can. I think if you look at the League Cup games, especially early on, I think you could probably try to and get a look at it. You know, we all wanted, as you said before, Joe, we all want to see a future partnership of Strauch and Cresswell 2 years ago. That could still possibly happen. This is a good year for it to happen because we're in a championship. There will be games this season where we can get away with playing the two of them together and to allow them to grow and get used to each other. But I never want to see Liam Cooper or Luke Ayling leave Leeds United. I don't ever want to see them leave the club. But I don't want to see them in the starting 11 forever. And I think we need to move forward as a club. I would like to see, obviously, Cody's got a bit of a knock at the moment, so that's why Ayling is playing. And I don't know why Strauch isn't starting. Maybe it's just because of games, which was said before. You know, he could start at the weekend against Hearts. So, but I think Leeds need more depth in that position, full stop. I think we need two centre-backs to be brought in. I think we need cover for, again, because of the season that it is. I think we need to bring in somebody that's quality. I have no issue with what Cooper said. I fully support what he said. He was dead right. People are asking why did he not say it relegation. He did. He said it the final day of the season just because we weren't told about it. Bad news. We're not in the dressing room. We don't really matter in those conversations. He said to the people at that moment who mattered, which were the lads in the dressing room, if you want to be here, stay. If you don't, there's the door. And he's bang on the money. I love that about him. And I love that other younger players will learn that kind of leadership from him. But I don't want to see him start games anymore. And I think he said himself, he said last season, he's not expecting to start games anymore.
Cool.
Yeah, just a quick one, Joe. Yeah. I agree. I won't be starting in, to be fair. But looking at the game so far, at the preseason game, I think he'll start. Yeah. So far, but I think looking at our centre back right now, we have, of course, Strauch and Cooper left-footed on the left, with Woberg going to Gladbach. I think if there's the possibility to have Yalda in that position to try him in one of the game, I would like to see him play as a centre back too, because like I said, to me, he's more like a centre back. He's more a centre back than a left back, Yalda. But on the right, we just have Cresswell basically. So it's a little bit short right now. So in terms of right centre backs, but
we definitely need to see a signature in that position. Yeah, it goes without saying. And I think
I also think Strauch's got to step up. He's 24 now.
Yeah,
he's 24.
One or two. We've lost Llorente. We've lost Koch. We lost three centre defenders there. So I think at least two, one experienced and one young, maybe, or bring him through another young one from the academy. But I prefer more like a loan from a Premier League club to keep in the squad. You know.
It's great show.
Yeah. I think Max made a great point as well, because I'll always remember Cresswell's debut, and he was up against Antonio at West Ham, and he the first challenge that he went for, he gave Antonio too much time. I think he got too tight to him, I think, initially, and he said after that first exchange, Cooper grabbed him and says, no, just hold off a bit, and then. If you remember his debut, he was class the rest of the game. So I think Max bang on the money of having experience.
He's shown that though, Joe, not just in that game, but if you look at last season, he started very shaky for Millwall. People saw the goals, and this is the commentary we tend to see as fans, especially on Twitter. You know, he scored a couple of goals early on for Millwall, and he was the best centre back in the league. However, Millwall fans will tell you he was making some very big mistakes at the back and costing them goals. And then he said it himself. He did start off shaky. He got inside his own head. He wasn't prepared for the pressure from the stands, because playing in front of a handful of people on an under-21 game just didn't come with the same pressure. But he said once he got out of his head and he started to realize that he had the ability, and it was just a case of focusing on his job, that all of a sudden it started to become easier. And he had a banging second half of the season for Millwall, and arguably, possibly if he'd still been in the team and hadn't broken his eye socket before the playoffs, they might have scraped into the playoffs because he was doing so well. He'd knocked one of the more experienced players out of that team and kept him out of the team for the second half of the season. So he has shown an ability to be very self-aware and to understand what parts of his game need to improve, and then the ability to actually be able to go and improve them. And that's a huge attribute for any young player to have. You can try as hard as you want, but if you haven't got the ability to actually put it into practice, it doesn't matter. But he seems to have both.
And I really,
the best partnership
last night. I thought it was great.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, the best partnership for me this preseason was whoever was next to Cooper. I thought when Strout was next to Cooper, he played the best. And yesterday, Cresswell the other day was a bit dodgy. When he played next to Cooper yesterday, he was brilliant. Having that guy there really, like Max said, that experience really helps. It really does.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
why
was
I think
proved.
That's why I think it starts so far, because if we look at that preseason game, but let's not forget too that, of course, Farke will play in the season once the season starts. The centre backs that shoot his style of play, specifically, because when he was at Norwich, he didn't. It didn't look in the eye, Russell Martin, who was the historical captain when it was the time to not playing him, So I think there'll be competition and be healthy for everyone. But right now, looking at the preseason game, I think Cooper will start at least at the start of the season.
Just similarities between Cresswell and Grant Hanley as well, just in terms of size, and how they play. I think Cresswell's probably a bit better on the ground than Hanley was, but there's similarities in the two of them. And I said this earlier on to the guys, one of the things I liked most about Cresswell last night was he'll pass it out from the back when we have to, but if there's a need, he has no problem putting his laces through the ball and actually smacking at the length of the park.
Or driving into midfield as well.
Or driving.
Yeah, seen that. It was nice.
Well. So he's got a lot of attributes to his game. He can mix it up when he has to. He can play ball, but he can also lump it when he needs to lump it. And there was Tony Dorigo commented on last night, that big long ball that he just put his laces through and pumped to prepare to full into the pitch. Straight away, the entire Leeds team just ran up the park and got their shape higher up the pitch. And it's like, great. When we are under pressure, we have that player who can get rid of it. And then the players know, right, keep the shape and move on 15 yards. And they all did that. And that's a good trait as well.
That's why I think
so young as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I think Cresswell and Cooper will, unless we sign anyone, Cresswell and Cooper will be the starting centre-backs in the Cardiff game, because I talked about this when I did the tactics video. He loves Farke, somebody who can bring the ball out from the back. And we saw that it was a similar thing to what Bielsa wanted from his centre-backs. When Ben White charged out from the back, it was because the opposition are putting pressure on you and you've got no passes on. Okay, just dribble the ball, and it breaks down that press and it breaks the lines. And having somebody like Cresswell who can do that well, like he did last night, is such an asset that I think he'd be happy to put Cooper in as sort of like an experienced head to bring Cresswell through, because I think he's going to find Cresswell a really, really important player in this system. And I think this whole discussion that we're having about experienced players playing next to weaker players is a little bit like what we had last season. The prime example was Wöber and Koch. When Wöber was in the team, Koch was a serviceable, decent centre-back. When he was out of the team, Koch was all over the place when he was playing next to Strauch. And I think we may see something similar with Cresswell. Like Jer said, he can be shaky at times, but that's usually when he's got somebody next to him who maybe isn't as much of a leader, isn't telling him where to go, and somebody who he can learn from. Because, yes, Cooper isn't the best footballer in the world, but he has got experience. He's been promoted before. He knows how to play in a possession system now because of his previous experience. I think it's good to have him in there, but I do have reservations about Cooper, because although he's got all those leadership skills, we saw last night he's still making silly mistakes. And I think he did it in the Monaco game as well. He passed it to an opposition player. He went and won the ball back, and well done. Yeah, you've made a mistake, but you've got it back. Then he passed it to the opposition player again. And it's like, come on, man. Like, you've done something bad, you've made up for it, and then you've done something bad again. Like,
there should be said, though, I mean, the fact that the term Cooperisms exists is a thing in itself.
Yes.
We do know he has that in his locker, but there is a lot of good to his game. It should be said about Liam Cooper as well, for all the negative stuff and the League One Liam stuff. He did come from a League One Chesterfield side and join a team that eventually became one of the best passing sides in the league. For him to change his game at the age that he was, to adapt to that and to be a major part of that is is a credit to him. It's something that he should be very proud of, because a lot of players at that part of their career will struggle to change the style of game that they play. He adds a huge amount of experience to those younger players. And the fact that Creswell is talking about it in interviews means he's soaking it up. The fact that Stroke hasn't been, or hasn't seemed to be getting better while being around Cooper, is an issue. But the other thing as well, just on the three centre-backs, there's a myth that we need to have a right-footed and a left-footed centre-back. That is a modern thing. That is not it's an ideal scenario, but you can equally. I played centre back for a little bit. I'm a right footer. I much rather play it on the left hand side because I like to come inside to pass the ball rather than outside. So it's very subjective. It is not a guarantee. You do not need to have a left footed left centre back and a right footed right centre back. You need to have two good centre backs who can pass the ball. That's
it's not set in stone, is it?
I think
there's some players that can play with both feet as well,
correct.
Which we don't really.
Most
think
of them should be able to at max.
Yeah, like Strouk too.
Correct.
I was going to say Strouk played.
Right.
Strouk played really well on the right hand side, didn't he, against Monaco? I think we'd all like a new backline. I think we've needed one for a couple of seasons now, but you need to make incremental gains, and we need to not rip it all up. Just make little tweaks here and there. Bringing a right centre back, you're going to have someone else playing on the left hand side. You've still got Luke Hill and you've still got Cooper there. So let's see what it looks like. Another super chat came in from Gabe, and I think he's right. He said we upped Rasmus and Firpo last pre-season. Who can forget JT and Firpo against Blackpool, if you remember? Remember 6-2 win versus Cagliari. Twitter said Jesse was cooking. Then I think conclusions should be reserved. Then Reggie P Gamer as well. And this is the point I wanted to discuss: is people gassing up Poveda after one friendly is funny to me, and it is to me.
That's fair. I don't think that's what we're doing either. We're commenting on a performance in one game because we're talking.
Yeah. Can I make my point, and then I'll let you argue yours, Joe? Okay. Yeah, because I think we are doing that. Because for me, it looks like Poveda's the next best thing since like the fact.
No.
Wait. The fact that we're having this conversation shows that we are gassing him up.
Sliced bread is very bad as a number 10 historically, Joe.
but for me, and we've spoken about it already on your show. I was just a bit like, calm down, and I'm guilty of going, oh my God, he's back. Oh my God, this player is amazing. I'm aware of that. But I think 45 minutes and he scored against the Forest team that were looking leggy at the time. Yeah. All of a sudden, he's the new number 10 that we've all been screaming for. And I don't know.
He's a winger.
He's not a winger for me. I don't think he's a winger.
Can I just say this? Look, at the end of the day, this is exactly the same as people are doing about Bamford, isn't it? I don't see we're doing that. He put in a really solid performance yesterday, scored a goal, fantastic. But I asked a question today on my show, and I said, do you think he should be considered to be a new number 10? And quite rightly, people were like, no, you can't judge him on that one performance. What? He has been a couple of decent performances. Pardon?
Sorry, Kate, I thought you'd start, my bad.
Oh no, sorry, I thought you said why then. No, but I don't think so. But carry on, Lockie. You know more.
Right. What I was going to I don't like it when you say that. I feel
no, you do. You do.
No. So, look at where he's played at, right? And let me finish my point before. He's been at Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and Barcelona. You cannot get into one of those academies unless you're a very good footballer. He's been in 4 of them.
Yeah.
The issue with him, listen to what Bielsa said about him, listen to what Mick McCarthy, Daniel Farke's comments. It's about him. It's about what he wants to do. Yes. Yeah. Off the pitch. Don't get played, storms off. He did it, right? He did that last season, didn't he, Joe? Yeah. Mick McCarthy, he left the stadium when he got brought off. Didn't turn up to training a few times. Yeah. That's the problem with him. Though. Yeah.
He's his own worst enemy, isn't he?
Exactly. Bielsa, when he came to Leeds, Pep said in an interview he wanted Bielsa to fix him, because he's a really good player. Pep believed in him. Pep believed he was a good player. It's just Bielsa couldn't do it, and that's why I'm worried. Can Farke do that? He's a really good technical player. He's just it's the other stuff that bothers me.
That's the thing.
And Joe, you go ahead now, because unlike Mark Jones, who for some reason says that I'm giving my opinion, and I wanted to finish my opinion before Joe gave me his, Mark. So what are you on about?
And to be very fair, I interrupted you. So let's be.
Yeah, you
very-
did. Don't do it again.
No, I will. So
I'm joking. I'm joking.
to balance this, right? This is the thing that bugs me. We can be very selective about who we choose to either say we're gassing up or we're knocking back, right? Or we're digging out, right? If it's one of the favorites, it's they've given us loads. We're allowed to say they're great, and but
Like
you can't
this here.
criticize them. Joe's
I
next-
think
but
these
we
guys
are,
are on the
and,
money.
and that's Leeds. We are. It is. These are the online Leeds
That's
reaction.
a member. That is.
This is
Joe.
not
No,
a-
we're just
Oh,
giving
Theo
an opinion on
knows,
a
Theo
performance, like
knows.
you said.
Theo
We're just
knows.
judging a performance, not saying that he's going to be the next.
played really well.
Varane or Messi.
I am talking about Ian Poveda in 30 minutes of a game, but I'm
Exactly.
also talking about comments have been made about Poveda in the past and what he's done in the past as well at other clubs, right? It is not true that he didn't do well at Blackpool and Blackburn. It is not true that he didn't do well there. He had issues at Blackpool around disciplinary reasons, but he was good enough that even when McCarthy, who does hold grudges, dropped the player from the squad for leaving, he brought him back in after the 2-week suspension that he gave him. He brought him straight back into a starting 11 because he was making an impact for Blackpool at that point. Tony Mowbray, when he had him at Blackburn Rovers, said he was doing fantastically well. Then he did his ACL. That is not bad performances. That is an injury that rid off his entire season. So it's not necessarily true. He's a young player who's had a stop-start career. He's had 2 ACL injuries, 2 at 24, which is mad, or 23, which is crazy. And you're allowed to comment on a player who's played well, but you're not allowed to dig out a player who's had a bad performance because then it's personal and you're just picking on him again. It's selective. It's super selective when people want to shout off about this kind of stuff. Ian Poveda came on for 35 minutes last night in the number 10 position, started off out wide, didn't do an awful lot, lost the ball twice, gave it up easy because he's weak under pressure from behind. Soon as he went inside, he changed as a player. He was dropping in deeper than the sixes at time to get the ball and turn and run forward with it. He was incredibly positive with all of his runs. They were direct at the defenders. Jorginho Rutter, is he a number 9? Would he look like a number 9 when he connected with Ian Poveda for his goal? Ball was played into him. He rolled the centre back, and Poveda was gone already. Had read what they did. Before that as well, there was 2 passes that Poveda slightly overhit, but they were straight into Rutter's feet, so Rutter could run directly at goal. There's a lovely link-up play between the two of them. Rutter hasn't got those kind of passes. He drifts out wide at times when we get the ball as well. He did some lovely step-overs to get crosses in that went right across the box and nobody finished off. I am not saying Ian Poveda is going to be the next thing since sliced bread. I'm not saying Ian Poveda is Pablo Hernandez reincarnated. I'm saying in the space of 30 minutes, I saw a player that we've been told existed, but we haven't seen. And in 30 minutes, we saw more of him and what he can do for Leeds United than any time that he's done that before. That there was a glimpse against Man City when he came off the bench once, but not enough. Am I saying he's going to be a number 10? No. I'm saying in that role, because we've already written off Leo Hjelde as a left back after 2 preseason friendlies. So, it's the same thing. It's extremes here. So if it's a case that he's done well in this game, great. I want to see him do it again. And then I want to see him do it again and again and again. And then we can say we've got a number 10. But we shouldn't knock what he's done, though.
Yeah, right. Okay. What I will say in response to that, and great analysis, mate, as everyone's saying, in the chat, someone said I'm being politely told off here. What I will say is, I know, Joe.
I'm wrong as much as anybody is. I want this kid to be good, and I could be very
100%, and I want that as well. Because I'd love nothing more than Poveda to come on and play like that week in, week out. Because that means we've got a good player at the football club,
exactly,
like for a steal. I made the comparison on your show to Ravel Morrison because we heard a lot about Ravel Morrison and he went to loads of clubs. And guess what? I don't even know where he is now. Like, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, like Lockie said, though, he's played for Barca, Arsenal, all these different, Brentford even, and they're no player. But it's not worked out. So there's clearly talent there. It goes without saying. But I remember him doing a Cruyff turn against Crawley, I think, in the Cup. I remember him making a decent run and not going down for a penalty, I think, against maybe Chelsea or City, it might have been. What I'm saying is, fool me once, that's how the saying goes, fool me twice. Right. I've seen it before, so it's going to take me a lot more than 35 minutes for me to say, okay, it should be playing 10.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that time,
we should have a small amount of skepticism in everything. Same with I said with the 49ers. I'm super excited the 49ers have bought over Leeds. Am I skeptical? There's still a bit of it in there. You have to have a little bit of cynicism in you if you're going to protect yourself from disappointment. We're Leeds United, for God's sake. We've seen it. Like, ups and downs is literally in the song that we've got. So we have to be prepared for it. I just think if we're judging a game on a game basis, yes, it's only one game of football. It's only one half. The big question for Ian Poveda is, can Ian Poveda get out of his own way? That's going to be the thing that's going to stop it. And I said it on my show, it hasn't gone up yet, so we can talk about it. But KSA is a model of training that people work off. It's knowledge, skills, and attitude. Knowledge you'll learn, skills you'll be taught. Attitude is all you. You have to bring that to the table. Ian Poveda's issue up till this point is his attitude or decision making has gotten his way.
Yeah.
And if he can sort that out, and there's no guarantee he can, but if he can sort that out, then maybe we can start talking about him as a possible future player.
The way I look at it,
go lucky.
The way I look at it, right? Like I said earlier in JUSTJOE, right? If that was a new signing, he's come for 30 minutes and done that. We're sat here gassing him up, right? Yeah. Just like we did Ampadu when he came on and was brilliant for 60 minutes. We absolutely gassed him up. Because of the past, we're scarred by doing that, and that's fine. That makes sense. But what I also would say, if Daniel Farke wants to keep him and he's here after the window shuts, because there'll be a lot of championship clubs who would still want him because of his ability. If he's here after the window shuts, it's because Daniel Farke clearly thinks he's turned a leaf with the player. Right. And in that point, I think he could impact the side. So let's see what happens with him in that sense, I guess.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think he played well. I think he has ability, like you said. He's a good player, of course, because he's played for those academies. So of course he has talent. But I think we should also remember that yesterday, like Joe said, he played 30 minutes in the second half, where the team was stretched a bit and were a bit leggy. So that's why he found a lot of space in the middle. And it was really good, like Joe said, linking up with Rutter too. It was really good when he had space. But if you remember, he played the first half against Man United in a different position, of course, but he didn't find much space because, of course, at the time it was a different situation in the game. It was a different moment of the game. It was at the start, and yesterday was in the second half, of course, when the team were a little bit leggy to me. But yeah, I think in that specific position as a substitute, in that specific situation, it can be a good option from the bench in that specific spot.
It's up to him to force his way into that team and make it his. It's up to him. It's
up to him.
Exactly.
It's all up to him, isn't it?
And I'm actually intrigued to see, because of course, to me, like I said, the soaps of yesterday will start in Edinburgh. I think I'm intrigued by. I'm thinking of seeing what he does when he starts against Starts, because it's a different level in terms of when you start, and especially Forrest, like I said, look a bit tired to me and disconnected. But Arts instead, of course, it's comparable in terms of their strategy and their physicality and their pressing to certain championship sides. Of course, they don't have the quality and the level and the talent of championship side. They just have three good Australian internationals for me. But like I said, I'm intrigued to see what he can do centrally. I actually had a little bit of conversation with Jaron on Twitter about this, and I'm interested about what he said. Because I think he can be transformed into a more central player. I said he's a winger because to me, he does a lot of one-on-one very good, because he has in-your-face mentality. He goes straight he attacks. He goes a lot of one-on-one. But of course, if you can adapt him in a more central position in certain situation in the game, it can be useful, especially in the second half coming out from the bench. But it's only up to him, like you said, Joe.
Just real quick, just to say to people that are saying in the chat that Poveda and Byram starts now, that we're saying they're starting now. At no point did we say Poveda or Byram should be starting now. In fact, we said the opposite, that Byram was a good backup at left back and Poveda needs to prove himself to get into the team.
Yeah, we're just analyzing and saying our opinions about the yesterday game. We're not saying that. Of course, Byron can be a good backup. I'm still convinced we need another left back, because we have Dallas injured, Firpo injury prone, and Byron, of course, is coming out of a season of 1 or 2 seasons when he had some injury setbacks. So it's a risk for me to have some left backs who are injury prone, unfortunately, because I really like some Byron. Firpo, to me, is not an assurance defensively. I don't like him as a player. Of course, yes, they can be adapted there. I'm not ruling him out as a left back, but to me, for the system and the idea of football that I have, I like to more attacking the fullbacks, to be fair. But yeah, finishing on Poveda, it's up to him, like we said. The
reaction is the way it is because everyone thought that everyone, including myself, fully expected Poveda to be released this year and to leave Leeds. That's why the reaction is as big as it is, because we all thought the player's done. He's gone.
Yeah.
He won't play for Leeds again. And then you see it and you're like, huh.
I don't think that anybody's actually, from us and other content creators, are particularly actually gassing him up that much. I think it's more of like it's a social media bubble where you get a lot of young lads and lasses with footballers as their profile pictures saying that he's going to be the best player. And then you get some of the older people who've been here a long time as Leeds fans saying, oh, you're being ridiculous or whatever. And there's this polar opposite. And I think us lot sit somewhere in the middle where we are all thinking, okay, they played decent in that game. And yeah, we're taking that on a game-by-game basis. Poveda played well. Byron played well. On the basis of that game, they could probably do a job off the bench for us this season. And I think we're being quite level-headed about it and not really gassing anybody up that much. I think it's just a case of us saying, look, because of where we are, we've been relegated. These are the players that we've got that we weren't expecting to do well, which is why they're a topic of conversation. Byron wasn't at the club and used to be at the club. If he was just another player that used to play for Norwich on a trial / playing for us in pre-season for fitness or whatever, then I don't think it would get anywhere near as much attention. But I think it's because it's Sam Byram. He used to play for Leeds. He left when he was very young and someone that we all thought was very promising. So he's got a bit of media attention on him. Then you've got Poveda, who I can't remember who it was said a minute ago. Everybody thought it was written off. We thought that he'd be released this season. So yeah, they're having a bit of attention on them, because they're players that we didn't think would do well. But I certainly think it's not unreasonable to say that to put both of them on our bench this season would be very solid options.
Yeah,
agreed. I do agree on that.
Last thing, Joe, on both of them, never underestimate a man with a point to prove.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And the last thing that I was going to say, especially the level, remember the level in preseason, we're judging the preseason, lads. We're judging the preseason. I'm talking to the chat.
Yeah.
And the season, the season will be at a different level, in terms of pressing and physicality in the middle. So, of course, Poveda won't have that space that he had yesterday in terms of, because the team will be fitter and there will be more pressing and more physicality. He'll have
100%.
So yeah, I agree with the others about the coming off the bench,
Yes, 100%. And let's leave it there because I'm really conscious of time. I'm hungry and I know the people are hungry too when it's late. Okay?
Getting a curry again, Joe.
No, I'm not getting a curry, mate.
Not get a curry.
Last 30 minutes of his watch along, he was just ordering a curry.
Someone actually put in the comments, this is the worst watch along I've ever seen.
Oh, curry. Nice.
But people, that's why people love me, man. That's why people enjoy it.
I will laugh at it in front of you.
The pre-season, it's not like it's the Champions League final Leeds are playing and you're going,
no, man. You need to chill out there.
Everyone at the ground was getting chip and sausage and gravy. That's what they were doing at that moment as well.
Someone actually commented, and I hope you're watching this. He was fuming that I put a timer on at the start of the video. He said, I am sick to back teeth for watching that timer. Like, why? Like,
Make
just
your
chill
own
out.
show, then.
Is the timer of the
guess what? Guess what? Do what everyone else does and double tap the video and fast forward it. Unless you're watching live, of course. But yeah, chill out, old man shouts at cloud. It is what it is.
Don't pick those two dots behind you, will you?
Timer of the Chinese.
I know, yeah. I need to fill in these holes as well. God forbid.
I had to Velcro a green screen to my wall to stop people giving out about a little hook that was just right here.
Also, this isn't straight.
That's
what it is. I've seen that as well. Yeah. So just for listen, everyone, 900 odd people, smash a like on the video. Amazing numbers again tonight. Follow Kate, follow Andrea, follow Lockie, whose name's Ben, by the way. I just found that out earlier on. Did not know him.
Did tell him in the first stream.
On the show,
I genuinely did not know.
Ben Lock. Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know. I
thought his name was Lockie McLaughlison or something.
Yeah.
His real name is Lockhart, like the Harry Potter character.
Is that calling him Gilderoy?
Ben.
Yeah.
We've got Jer as well, and of course Max. Make sure you check them all out. All do amazing content.
Jer, whose real name is Gerard.
Yeah, it's actually Jared.
And it's also Joe's dad.
Taking the mic.
Jared.
Yeah, and Mark's fallen out with me. Look, he's not even saying goodbye. Bye, Mark. I love you too as well. All right.
I'll see you on Monday, darling. Right.
I love that. And just for that guy who commented, we're going to end like this. We'll see you in a bit, folks. All right.